High scoring games with zero defense, athletes not trying their hardest to win, and zero passion in what is supposed to be one of the most anticipated games of the year. All-Star games. Every league has them. They're an opportunity to showcase the best players in your sport and pit them against each other for one game. One game where it's the best versus the best. At least that's how it's supposed to be. In some major American sports, the All-Star game has either turned into a mockery or morphed into an alternate version of the sport people enjoy. People are beginning to turn away from these All-Star games as they have become meaningless and non-competitive. One sport's All-Star game has an inherent advantage over the others. Baseball. Baseball's All-Star game has always been more popular than the other three major sports. In this video, I will break down why MLB All-Star game is better than the rest, and how it can save itself from becoming what other leagues now have, a meaningless, non-competitive fake game. Other All-Star games run into the problem of being non-competitive exhibitions. Yes, all of the star players are in one game, but nobody is trying their best to win, so what's the point? You can see this most on defense. The NBA has a large problem where their All-Star game has turned into, let's see who can score the most and play zero defense. This has caused their All-Star game to become unwatchable, having high-scoring finals that look like they're from a video game. It turns out, it's not that fun to watch somebody score on offense facing zero competition. You can see the same thing in the NHL, which I think should get more of a pass because of the physicality of the sport. And before all you NBA lovers try to tell me that the NBA is physical too, just watch one NHL game and you'll understand what I'm saying.
Oh, that's a big hit right there.
And of course, if the NHL gets a pass, so does the NFL. These two sports are at a disadvantage when it comes to high intensity and competitive All-Star games because of the physical nature of their sport. What we get as a result is flag football instead of real football, and 3-on-3 glorified pond hockey. I think the NHL and the NFL are doing the best they can with what they have, but the NBA I am confused. It seems like nobody has pride and nobody cares if they get scored on. Luckily for baseball fans, we don't run into this problem. MLB is inherently always going to be competitive. Defense in our sport starts with the man on the mound, and no pitcher is going to want to go up there and throw BP with their last name on the back of their jersey. So naturally, pitchers are always going to do their best to get the batter out, and as a result, no batter is going to want to strike out. They want to shine and go placata off the pitcher.
Placata, that's right.
This creates a system where neither party wants to get embarrassed on the big stage, and they both want to excel. The only way baseball would be less competitive is if players begin to jog to balls in the outfield, or don't run hard after hitting the baseball, or just quite frankly don't play the game right. But our sport seemingly has a culture that looks down on that, and the players on the biggest stage rarely try to make themselves look lazy or bad. Another reason why baseball's All-Star game is better than the other major American sports is because of its history. The first All-Star game was the MLB All-Star game in 1933. The Midsummer Classic pitted the National League against the American League. The two leagues were rivals, never playing each other during the regular season. If you wanted to see the best American League players face the National League, you had to wait for the World Series or tune into the All-Star game. And that made the rivalry even more intense as players wanted to prove that their league was better than the other. And the All-Star game was a huge way to do it. Other sports have two leagues or conferences, but no other sport comes close to the historic rivalry that MLB's American League and National League has. NBA, NHL have Eastern-Western conferences, while the NFL is AFC and NFC. All are not historical rivals to the level of baseball's leagues because they play each other in the regular season, which only began to happen recently in the history of baseball. This fueled the rivalry between the leagues that was settled every year during the Midsummer Classic. This is not only my opinion. If we look at the numbers, MLB's All-Star game has always had higher viewership than the other leagues. But MLB is following a trend along with the other leagues where less and less people are tuning into the All-Star game. Baseball may be number one, but something isn't right. Here's how I would save MLB's All-Star game. If the game is supposed to be the best of the best, then make it that way. Currently, each team is designated to have at least one player represent them in the All-Star game. This helps gain more eyes from fans of teams that may not have a player at the All-Star game if otherwise. But sometimes this leads to someone getting screwed out of a spot on the All-Star team. Being an All-Star is a huge honor for a player, and it does get taken into account at the end of a player's career when considering the Hall of Fame. I know that we are talking about the margins here, but to me it should always go to the better player. We shouldn't give an all-star spot or take one away just to represent all teams. Some teams just stink. I also think it would be cool to give every player some sort of visual acknowledgement that they were an all-star for the rest of that season. For example, Mookie Betts makes the all-star team for the National League. It would be cool to see a National League all-star patch on his jersey for the rest of the year, or maybe a stripe on his helmet or his hat. Something that acknowledges the stars and visually makes them stand out from others. I would imagine that it would be worn with pride. In modern day, MLB's leagues have much more in common. The National League used to have pitchers hit and the American League would DH. The American League had Yankees-Red Sox greats while the National League had Dodgers-Giants, and they used to never play each other. Now, with the universal DH, interleague being set up to where every team plays each other once, the rivalry has died down a little bit. Now we don't have to wait for the All-Star Game or the World Series to see Dodgers players face Yankees players, which I think is a great thing. I do not mind the fact that once every 2 years, American League fans will be able to see Shohei Ohtani in person. I believe this is a good move for baseball, but sadly, we do lose a little bit of the novelty of interleague matchups because we see them so often. It seems like the days of American League and National League hatred that pushed Pete Rose to burn through catcher Ray Fosse in an All-Star Game are behind us. I think MLB would still benefit by marketing the All-Star Game as a rivalry between leagues. Although we have interleague, it is not that prevalent to where having all these stars from each league playing each other in one game would become unimportant. If MLB were able to market the league versus league matchup, Soto, Judge, Gunnar versus Harper, Ohtani, and Skeens, I think they could draw up a lot of interest in the game. Focus on the fact that the American League has won 20 of the last 25 All-Star games, but the total record still lies 47-44 with 2 ties in the American League's favor. If you're able to market the game as a league versus league rivalry, showcasing the best stars from each league, I still believe you can get a lot of eyes on it. Okay, this one may be controversial or a hot take, but I don't care. I think we should go back to having the All-Star Game decide which league has home field advantage for the World Series. I know some of you may hate that, but one thing is for sure, it made the All-Star Game very important. Currently, World Series home field advantage is determined by record, which to me is a bit lazy. If you're going to do it that way, it should be determined by your record against the other league. That way, if one league just has crappier teams, you don't reward that league's champion for whooping those crappy teams all year. But I want to throw that all away and have the All-Star Game decide home field advantage for the World Series. Before you get mad in the comments, check this out. This article shows that the All-Star Game affecting the World Series had very minimal effect, and the author was not a fan of the rule. Even so, in 15 years, if they had been operating by best record gets home field advantage, only 2 World Series champions won a World Series that they didn't deserve in that sense. One was the 2004 Red Sox, who swept the Cardinals, which I don't think home field advantage was going to help the Cardinals there. And the other was the Texas Rangers, who lost in 7 games to the St. Louis Cardinals in 2011. In that series, Texas was up 3-2 and was one Nelson Cruz catch away from winning it all. My point is, with the All-Star Game determining the World Series home field advantage, there was little effect compared to if it had been determined by record. And why not have the All-Star Game determine this? It would ensure that the game matters and that it stays competitive. Every league's best player would truly have something to play for and fight to win. Home field advantage is so important and would add more spice to baseball's biggest exhibition. Oh, and let's have the players play in their team's uniform. Alright, let's not do these All-Star uniforms. They're cool, but let them use those uniforms during the Home Run Derby. And during the All-Star Game, let them rock their team unis. If you let them wear the All-Star Game jerseys during the Home Run Derby, I guarantee you people will still buy them. While we're on the discussion of the Home Run Derby, I think we can make this better too. I think we should give the Derby winner some sort of acknowledgement as well with a patch or a stripe. That would be sweet in my opinion. Let's also get away from the timed rounds. I think it was a great idea at first and kept the Derby moving along. The batters used to have to wait for the balls to land before swinging again, but now it's turned into a fast-paced free-for-all. Part of the greatness of the Derby is admiring these long balls that these guys hit and watch them soar across the night sky, landing deep into the crowd. Sometimes with the timed rounds, these guys are swinging so fast you can't even enjoy the bomb they just hit because they're already swinging at another pitch. I say let's go back to either counting outs or maybe a swing limit. Something to slow it down just a bit so we can enjoy these bombs. Or maybe just actually enforce the rule that they have to wait for the moonshot that they just hit to land before they swing. But that might incentivize some fence scrapers, and nobody wants to see fence scrapers. We want some bombs. And just imagine too, we wouldn't have been blessed with Josh Hamilton's legendary home run derby performance in Yankee Stadium if it was timed rounds. That's something growing up that I will never forget witnessing. Well, there you have it. That's how I would fix the MLB All-Star Game. Baseball will always put out the best product compared to the other leagues, but I think we can still make it better and reverse the nationwide trend. If you enjoyed this video, be sure to give it a like, comment if you think I'm crazy or if you agree, and be sure to check out our other videos or our weekly baseball show. We are on the road to 1 million subscribers, so please subscribe for more.
The place where Mickey Mantle hit tape measure shots almost off the light stand and drop the old facade. There's 50,000 plus New Yorkers chanting his name. Gone again. Speechless.